traffic stop in Virginia lands a teen in the hospital. Why a state trooper opened fire. The elephant in the room. Why the Commanders' return to Washington is not a done deal.
After a very warm afternoon, some showers and storms will approach the DMV. We'll let you know who's most likely to see a few of these storms.
At the fork, make a right. Go towards the water.
A Maryland family's nightmare. Their son goes missing in the dead of the night. The frantic search that ended in Prince George's County. And later, remembering the fall of Saigon 50 years ago.
Saw them just push over the flight deck. I said, whoa, what is this?
One evacuee's courageous story of survival.
You're watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
And thank you for joining us for DC News Now at Bora Mark Hall.
And I'm Tosin Fakile in for Annalisa Gale. A homecoming for DC's football team. It could be a field goal away. The mayor announcing a deal with the Commanders to build a new stadium at RFK. But before that can happen, there's a big hurdle to overcome. A yes vote from DC Council.
And DC News Now's Marielle Carbone is live outside of RFK. Marielle, there needs to be 7 yes votes for the deal to go through.
Yeah, that's right, Mark. And these council members, they have a big decision to make here. In fact, a $1 billion decision. And while some council members say they are on board, others say it's an impossible decision to make without the 2026 budget.
I'm excited.
For Ward 7 council member Wendell Felder, the chance to bring the Commanders back to the old RFK Stadium site is a game changer.
Now, Ward 7 is the only ward in the District of Columbia that does not have an anchor.
He says the $3.7 billion deal, supported by at least $1 billion in taxpayer dollars, would jumpstart development across the entire ward.
When you look at public dollars and what they have invested in other parts of the city, neighbors in Ward 7 deserve the same thing.
The deal includes a 65,000 seat covered stadium, 8,000 parking spaces, housing, and more. But
this is too much public funding.
Ward 6 council member Charles Allen.
There got to be massive changes to this deal. I also think we need to challenge the idea that we can only redevelop a neighborhood if a stadium is there.
Still, there's an elephant in the room.
It's virtually impossible for the council to consider the RFK legislation when we're in the middle of the budget.
The 2026 budget. The mayor is now nearly 4 weeks late in delivering it to the council, in part because of congressional interference in the 2025 budget. Right now, council is slated to take its final vote on the 26 budget at the earliest in late July. The deadline set for council to approve the RFK deal is July 15th.
We have a limited amount of time, roughly 8 weeks, to consider a $20 billion budget. It's all consuming. So don't ask us to consider other legislation.
And today the council voted on a resolution that requires the mayor to drop the 2026 budget to them by May 15th. Otherwise, the chairman says he'll take legal action. Now, Mark and Tosin, tonight there is a community meeting that'll be held at 6 p.m. That is with a group of people against the stadium deal, and that is held at the Hill Center. Reporting live from the RFK Stadium, I'm Marielle Carbone, DC News Now.
All right, Marielle, thank you. And you can find the latest on the Washington Commanders' return to the district on our website, dcnewsnow.com.
Earlier today in Virginia, flames engulfing this duplex in Arlington. Take a look at those flames on your screen. The fire started at about 11 on South Monroe Street. No injuries were reported. The cause of the fire is still under investigation.
Police say a 16-year-old with gang ties is in custody after he took them from a traffic stop. He took off from a traffic stop. A Virginia state trooper opening fire this morning, and police say things started in the city of Fairfax and ended in Fairfax County. That's where we find DC News Now's Liberty Simmons. And Liberty, you were able to get a hold of video that shows the struggle that took place.
That's right, Mark, and it was in this Fairfax County, Virginia neighborhood where Virginia State Police say they found that 16-year-old accused of taking off, and you can see red tape here put up on this home behind me. And we have video that captured the struggle and the moment when the shot was fired.
It's in video from a doorbell camera along Maury Road that you hear officers screaming commands at a 16-year-old boy wanted after he took off from a traffic stop Tuesday morning. Then
we just kind of looked out our top windows and we saw about 20 police cars, but there are no sirens, just lights going.
Virginia State Police say things started just before 1 a.m. when the teenager left the scene of a traffic stop at Burke Station and Main Street in the city of Fairfax. A trooper tracked the 16-year-old to an address on Morey Road in Fairfax that was tied to the car's registration.
Saw a bunch of police running with flashlights on the lawn across the street. We saw an officer running quickly. It looked like he was chasing somebody.
2 Fairfax County K-9 units joined the trooper. They gave commands for the boy to stop, but the teen took off. The trooper tackled him, and during the struggle, state police say 1 shot was fired. The teenager went to the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. He is in custody for outstanding warrants and pending additional charges. Officers are investigating him for unauthorized use of a vehicle.
And officers took that teen into custody on outstanding warrants for probation violation and auto theft, and other charges are pending. For now, live here in Fairfax, Virginia, Liberty Simmons, DC News Now.
All right, it's 4:06. Let's head over to meteorologist Damon Matson with a first check on our forecast. And, you know, a little breezy today, but Tosin, it was nice out.
Another day of sunshine.
Yeah.
We'll take it, Damon. It felt a little warmer than yesterday. Am I correct?
Oh, it almost feels like we hit fast forward a little bit with how much those temperatures jumped up today. It feels a little more like we may have jumped to June, maybe even July. With these kind of temperatures, I mean 80s across the entire DMV. Annapolis pretty much the only exception here, and it's not just in the 80s. We're talking middle to even upper 80s. 84 in D.C., Frederick, Waldorf, and Leesburg, a pretty popular number. But as you head west, that's where we are flirting with 90 degrees already in Woodstock, Cumberland, and Kaiser. And all of this warmth is out ahead of a storm system that is really starting to get going here as we head toward the evening time. No, notice all these yellow boxes here. Severe thunderstorm watches up across much of Ohio, Pennsylvania, even a little bit down into West Virginia as a line of severe storms is progressing eastward, and that is tracking toward us here in the DMV. So as we move on into the evening time and even tonight, once that sun goes down, the chance for showers and thunderstorms goes up, but not for everybody in the DMV. So we'll talk about who's most likely to see a few of these thunderstorms and when things may start to quiet back down again after this works through, coming up in your full forecast here in just a bit.
Hey, Damon, thank you. New developments in the case of Kilmar Abrego Garcia, the Maryland man wrongfully deported to El Salvador.
We now know that a new sealed motion has been filed. Now, because it is sealed, the exact details in it is unknown. But we do know that last week, a 7-day stay was filed, and that deadline is tomorrow at 5 p.m. The Trump administration asked the federal judge for a pause so he can stop giving the judge required updates on the efforts it's made to return Abrego Garcia.
And as we continue to monitor the update, we're learning that Senator Chris Van Hollen wrote a letter to President Trump today detailing his meeting earlier this month with El Salvador's vice president. He says in part, our discussion showed that your administration is doing nothing to comply with implement the Supreme Court order to facilitate Mr. Abrego Garcia's return to the United States, and revealed that the government of El Salvador is holding him solely at the request of your administration, and specifically because you are paying them to imprison him. You can read the full letter on DCNewsNow.com. President Trump has not responded publicly to the letter.
Now, if you remember, Van Hollen traveled to El Salvador 2 weeks ago to try to facilitate the return of Abrego Garcia, who is being held in prison despite not being charged with a crime. The Trump administration has admitted Abrego Garcia was deported by mistake, but it says it is unwilling to return him to the U.S. despite an order from the Supreme Court.
And D.C.'s Attorney General is suing 4 Virginia drivers and 1 Maryland driver. He says that they each owe tens of thousands of dollars in traffic fines. According to Brian Schwab, the Maryland driver owes more than $187,000. That's the most owed for dangerous driving violations in the district. The 5 drivers are responsible for a combined 3,500 traffic infractions, racking up a total of $425,000 in fines. The lawsuits were brought on under the STEER Act. The law went into effect last year and lets D.C. crack down on dangerous out-of-town drivers. That's a problem.
That is a lot of traffic tickets there. All right, moving on. We are on the move this afternoon as Metro leaders meet to talk about public safety across the region's bus and rail system.
And today, transit officials touting dropping crime numbers. Also, renewed partnerships between local agencies with helping to keep the Metro system even more safe.
We find DC News Now's Randy Bass live near Metro headquarters at L'Enfant Plaza Metro Station in Southwest DC. She has new details for us this afternoon. Randy, safety on the system, that's been a hot topic recently.
Yes, and today's safety summit comes as the Trump administration has been openly critical of both the D.C. area metro system and transit systems across the country. But D.C. metro leaders we talked to today tell us crime trends are moving in the right direction here.
2 years, crime is down 60, I think it is 5%. Crime now is at a 7-year low on the metro system. We know that this is a topic about a national conversation.
Metro General Manager Randy Clark touting those numbers today, and stats from Metro Transit Police show crime is down year over year on the system.
We've had hundreds of people do fare evasion that have been arrested for outstanding warrants or had weapons. So all of those things are keeping people off the system that commit other crimes.
Our TV cameras not allowed inside the first Metro Safety Summit with police and fire chiefs from across the DMV, with officials citing sensitive information and intelligence briefings discussed inside. The meeting comes weeks after Clark met with Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy and after Metro Transit Police Chief Michael Gonzalo met with President Trump's anti-crime task force.
Overall crime is way down. Fare evasion is way down. Public perception of safety on the system is way up.
Chief Gonzalo emphasizing perception and visibility as a big part of keeping crime down, and by utilizing Metro Transit Police along with local officers and special contracted police officers, they've been able to increase their presence.
So we're just trying to add to that sense, the perception of safety, but also too taking action, when there is a crime that occurs.
And riders we talked to say they're noticing.
It seems like they have some helpers, the ones who are private police forces who are there with the more visible, brightly colored vests. Visibility is always good.
More now on the future of fare enforcement here on the Metro system. We talked with leaders today who tell us they are looking into civilian fare enforcement efforts that would involve people who are not police officers engaging with people who are trying to jump the gates or tailgate those who are walking through gates who have already paid. They tell us those conversations are still in the very early stages. In Southwest DC, I'm Randy Bass, DC News Now.